thank you so much for coming here today. My son checks a book out of the library every week at his school. Yes, yay libraries. And he's really into legends and myths like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. And so we're reading in this book that he checked out at his school about the Loch Ness Monster. And, it's talking about this visionary man, and a man who was an inventor and held a bunch of patents, and he was a composer of music and played a violin with Einstein. And for many years, he used his invented sonar technologies to search the waters in Scotland for the Loch Ness Monster, chasing a dream. And that man had another dream he chased that we know well. He understood that intellectual property was key to the future, and he started this law school, this dream of a law school. So my son said, so he started the law school, and he's in this book. Does that make us famous? So I thought about it, and I was like, yes, it does. So Bob Rines and Bob Viles looked around at other law schools and decided to do something different. As the quote in our foyer says, to stop talking about what's wrong with legal education and start doing something about it. And as you know, we were founded in a barn to be the law school of the information age before anybody was calling it an information age. Students were reviewing admissions files, and we had a makeshift cafeteria that some brothers brought soup in a crock pot that they sold entrepreneurially, and a lot of students sort of worked as staff to pay their way through law school, and even a student in that first year was brought in to be kind of the token upperclassman to provide guidance to the younger students. So like Apple was started in a garage, we were started in a barn. And both, I guess, particularly us, have gone on to change the world. And this year, we have realized that dream more than ever. We've always been different. We know that. But we're not different just to be different. We don't do things here just because that's the way they've always been done. And sometimes we have to check ourselves about that. But we think about students and what they need to not just think like lawyers, but as Professor Hearn says, and now I say, to be lawyers. And these days, we increasingly think about who needs legal education and in what form. Because the legal services market is expanding. And people talk about legal education over the last 10 years as being in crisis. But I don't see it that way at all. I would venture to say instead that particularly for us, it's in opportunity. The things that are wrong with legal education have borne themselves out. Thank goodness. Surprise, surprise. Which creates even more space for a school like us to do what's right. So today, I'm going to talk to you about where we are and where we're going, how we exemplify that founding mission every day, in academic excellence, in student well-being, throughout the state of New Hampshire, and all around the world. So the president of the University of New Hampshire has set out 4 strategic initiatives, which provide a really good framework for our discussion: academic excellence, student well-being, embracing New Hampshire, and building financial strength. So first, we're going to talk about expanding academic excellence. And we prioritize academic excellence kind of from incoming to outgoing, from admissions through our academic programs and through our stellar outcomes. So let's talk about admissions. This year we welcomed the largest entering class in 9 years this fall, with 146 students, while maintaining the strength of our entering class profile. And this coming year, we expect more growth under the direction of our admissions dean, Grant Keener, and our stellar admissions team. Just to benchmark, nationally, applications to law school are up about 1%, and in New England, applications are up just over 2%. our applications for the residential program alone are up 14%. Our applications for the residential program plus the hybrid program together up 35.5%. And our applicant pool is even stronger than ever. So with the same overall profile, our offers of admission benchmarked to last year are up over 50%. So where do our graduate admissions stand? And graduate can get kind of confusing. What we mean by that are really our master's programs. Those applications are up significantly as well. Thanks to the great work of Sarah Dorner, our residential enrollment this year was up 60%, and our online enrollment this spring is up 66%. And while we're too early in the admission cycle to tell about the fall, it's kind of a shifted cycle, inquiries alone are up over 600%. This is particularly important to us because we've been educating international lawyers here for over 30 years. Many world leaders in intellectual property are graduates of our program. WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, is in its search for the new Director General, and out of the 10 candidates, 2 of them are our alumni. And in the last couple of years, the last year in particular, we've really focused on strengthening our international relationships to grow those programs. And I am so proud to tell you that it's working. This year, both Professor Ann Bartow and I spent some time in China at different times, lecturing and meeting with alumni. And as a result of the law school's work in China, we're exploring a possible partnership with the China National IP Administration, which is the Chinese Patent Office, that would build on our existing 20-year relationship with them. I also traveled to India, where I met with several of our partner schools and other schools that are interested in partnering with us. Look for an exciting announcement in the next couple of weeks about a joint initiative with one of these schools. This year we also traveled through Latin America, strengthening relationships in that region as well. Without a doubt, you knew it was coming. The most exciting thing, the most exciting part of our year truly was the launch of the nation's first hybrid JD in intellectual property, technology, and information law. It's the first ABA-approved hybrid JD in a specialized area of the law. It won't be the last. We've trained IP leaders for over 30 years here, and this program enables us to leverage our strength to provide our top education to people who are already working in the IP and tech space, but who aren't in a position to quit their jobs and move their families to New Hampshire. This program has transformed our school and the lives of the students in the program, and really legal education as we know it. On the first day of the program, there were a few of us standing around in the lobby as students were coming in, and one of us said, "We've been waiting for you." And without a beat, one of the students responded, "We've been waiting for you longer than you've been waiting for us." The students and staff and faculty, and it gives me chills to think about it every time, have truly been pioneers in this team effort to get this program off the ground. The hybrid isn't the only way that we are redefining legal education and the only transformation we've seen this year. Legal education has often been kind of a one-size-fits-all, heavily focused on the JD without thinking about changing times, changing markets. Who needs to know something about the law, and why aren't we leading in that space? One of the most important questions for law school leaders is to think about how to lead in that space rather than to be afraid of it. And so aside from launching the hybrid JD, we've also launched certificate programs in sports wagering and integrity, and in blockchain and cryptocurrencies that educate both lawyers and non-lawyers alike in cutting-edge areas of the law. And to do this, we're leveraging our existing faculty expertise we have in-house, which is amazing, through Professors Michael McCann and Tanya Evans. We're also providing legal education at the main campus through a variety of classes and a new minor in law. No matter what major an undergrad has, there are going to be legal frameworks and structures that they're going to be operating in all the time. And the biggest growing market in the legal services industry is actually outside the JD. So classes like the one taught by Amy Vorenberg and Jessica Durkis-Stokes on the law of sexual violence, which has led to a book that they're authoring on the same topic, truly blaze a trail and provide important legal education where it's needed and where it hasn't been before. So speaking of redefining legal education, last month we took 47 students, including students across all of our programs, our residential and hybrid JD programs, our LLM program, our online master's in IP program, and a few alumni out to Silicon Valley for a course in IP strategies. Alum Mickey Minhas, Vice President and Chief Patent Counsel for Microsoft, taught the class along with IP leaders at places like Google, Uber, Apple, Samsung, Dolby, Intel, Fox. The students aren't just learning from a textbook in a situation like that. They're learning from the global leaders in this space, and they're networking with those who are on the front lines of these cutting-edge legal issues every day. And it's already leading to fruitful connections. I just had a call with a 1L student this past week who is embarking on a research project with one of these companies and who will be working with them over the next couple of years on some really interesting issues. Our bioinnovation and healthcare program, led by Professor Lucy Hodder, has seen significant growth over the last couple of years, with over 65 students enrolled in courses this year. Our students are placed in residencies across the country, including hospitals, government, law firms, advocacy organizations, and industry. Our bioinnovation partnership is with Dean Kamen's Army BioFab USA, and it's being amplified across the campus, across the university, with students from various colleges, which really provides an interesting perspective on legal issues when you have people from different backgrounds with different interests and experiences. And this program is particularly interesting to me because it's really at the intersection of so many of our strengths: social justice and public interest, public policy, health law and policy, and IP as well. The program is a powerful force, and we expect continued growth in this space over the coming year. In our residency program, under the direction of Professor Courtney Brooks, that's a great picture. I'll continue to use it year after year. It's amazing. Students spend 1 or 2 semesters working full-time under the supervision of attorneys in firms, in companies, in the private sector, all across the country. 84% of our 3L students this year have been enrolled in a residency program, and 36% of them have participated a second time. Right now, we have students working across the country in not just New Hampshire, but Colorado, Illinois, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, Texas, Tennessee, and Vermont. 46 of them are working in the private sector and 39 in public interest jobs. I visited a student whose supervisor was just effusive about his ability to use legal judgment, to write, emails that were sort of particularly addressed to the audience, to know when it was appropriate to do the full-length memo or kind of the succinct business judgment. That stuff takes a while to learn. And so when I asked him later, when I got him aside, I said, are you just naturally good at that kind of thing? Or how did you get those kinds of skills? And he said, this is my 4th professional experience that I've had while I've been in school. And I'm always relating that then back to the classroom. And that makes me feel truly ahead of the game compared to my peers. And those kinds of experiences in law school lead to the phenomenal outcomes that we're seeing. Why do students go to law school? They go to law school to pass the bar and get a job. And in both categories, we're truly knocking it out of the park. So when it comes to bar passage, last year our bar passage was 83.56 for first-time takers in New Hampshire. And in our next 5 biggest jurisdictions, our pass rate was 100% in each one of those. Under the direction of Associate Dean Leah Plunkett, our bar passage program has become a model for programs nationwide. In fact, we've been recently invited to apply for, and which we did, a grant to help create a model for law schools to follow nationwide. It's like, do we share our secret sauce? I don't know. But I also wish I could share our results for 2019, but the ABA will not let us until tomorrow. So what I can say, I started out with a big censored sort of across this slide, but so what I will say is that you are going to love them, and I'm so proud of our students, and I can't wait to share those numbers with you tomorrow. So given all this, it's perhaps not surprising that our students are highly sought after in the employment marketplace. This year, we're in the top 6% of all law schools for employment on the open market. 94.5% of grads had a job within 10 months of graduation. That's when the ABA kind of takes count. And that puts us at number 13 in the country and number 2 in New England, and ahead of Harvard and Yale, by the way. So the ABA doesn't calculate this information for us. We kind of calculate it ourselves, looking at the data from other law schools. And you can read more about that, too, on our website. But thanks to the work of Eleanor McClellan and her fantastic team, this year we are also on track for great outcomes. And March 15th is the deadline. We have a couple of students still looking for jobs. So any of you watching on Facebook Live that might want to hire somebody, this would be a great time. Get in contact with Eleanor. She's happy to put you in touch with some fantastic students. Is that good, Eleanor? We got it? Okay. All right. So with all of this great news, it is not surprising that we are seeing the accolades come in. We're a top 100 law school, number 5 in IP, top ranked by Pre-Law magazine for practical legal training, public interest, public policy, IP, a best value school, a top 10 LLM program worldwide. And our faculty is also getting noticed, too, in ways that really count. So Sophie Sparrow is not here because she's in Ethiopia training teachers how to teach law. And she spent time last year traveling the world doing the same. Alex Roberts wrote a piece on failure to function in trademark law that was published in the Iowa Law Review, and it's getting a lot of response, including published responses from top trademark scholars across the country. So in formal ways and informal ways, I'm happy to see this kind of recognition come to our team and our community. Under the leadership of Jen Oles, we are working to tell our story to the world, and it's working. So this year we've had 40% more visitors, 45% more visitors to our website. We've seen 122% more prospective students fill out an inquiry form after visiting our website. We've increased the number of impressions on our social media channels with 30,000 more impressions this year. And our podcast, thanks to AJ, has been downloaded 9,500 times in 2019, which is triple the number of downloads from 2018. So let's turn to think about the ways that we embrace New Hampshire. In the last 5 years, our students have contributed over $12 million to the state of New Hampshire in pro bono legal services. Over 215,000 hours of pro bono legal services. And that's work with about 100 different community organizations, state agencies and nonprofits. We also are an economic engine to keep educated young professionals in the state of New Hampshire. About 72% of our students come from out of state, but over half of all of our students decide to stay in New Hampshire after graduation. That's pretty powerful in a state that worries about brain drain and keeping young professionals here. Our current students in residencies in New Hampshire are working with 69 state organizations. A state without kind of a robust tax base depends a lot on our students for the legal infrastructure, and we're happy to partner with the state in this way. We're also truly grateful to the community leaders who spend a lot of their pro bono hours supervising and training our students so they can hit the ground running when they graduate. I want to talk about the Redman Center for Justice, Leadership, and Public Service, because the Redman Center has done so much over the last year under the leadership of Professor John Graby. We've expanded services to both students this year and to the state of New Hampshire. Whether it's justice and journalism events with the New Hampshire Public Radio, having Tamara Keith and Domenico Montanaro, the Civil Liberties and the Presidency series, we've partnered with the ACLU of New Hampshire to do live interviews with presidential candidates on civil liberties, where 14 presidential candidates this year were here at the law school and signed our wall. Common Sense with the Concord Coalition, which are radio interviews with presidential candidates on fiscal policy. Annual Peterson Foundation conferences promoting fiscal responsibility. We recently had Carl Hulse, who's the chief Washington correspondent of the New York Times, here a couple of weeks ago to lecture for the Kirilop lecture on ethics and professionalism and civility. These events serve our community as a law school, but they also serve the broader New Hampshire community. And the room is usually packed for these kinds of events. Other Redman events this year will include stuff on human trafficking, prison reform, children's rights. And importantly, the center also raises money to provide summer stipends to students who volunteer to work full-time with nonprofits and government agencies through the Summer Fellows Program. In the past year, we funded 24 stipends this past summer, which is a 41% increase over the number of summer fellowships funded the previous year. And summer jobs, many of those jobs supported by the Redman Summer Fellows, provided 21,900 hours of pro bono service to the community last summer, which is part of those statistics I gave earlier. So let's talk about the ways that we focus on student well-being and success. We've really been working on creating an environment where students feel welcome, rethinking our curriculum to fit today's student, and providing state-of-the-art facilities. Our current retention rate is 96.6% at the law school. There are currently 32 active student organizations on campus, with students serving in 124 leadership roles and 16 faculty members that serve as advisors. We all know that mental health support, including issues of addiction, is important in the legal services industry and has often been lacking. We've tried to address that problem here at UNH Franklin Pierce. Our Assistant Dean for Students, Lauren Berger, has done an incredible job toward that end, and she's developed a suite of programs to support our students. Riverbend provides on-site counseling services here at the law school now. The New Hampshire Legal Assistance Program comes to campus for office hours once a month and is available the rest of the time around the clock by phone. We have yoga on campus, a student mental health support group, a student-run outdoors club, and for over a year now, the cafeteria has been operated by the Concord Food Co-op, which works with over 100 local farms to bring healthy, homemade food to our campus. And you all know food is really important to me. Our Academic Success Program has also expanded its services to students to help work on individual skill building and academic needs, specifically tailored for each year of law school. The ASP staff has expanded under the direction of Leah Plunkett, and now we have a team, Danette, John, Elizabeth, to work with both residential and hybrid JD students, as well as our graduate students. We've been thinking carefully, too, about ways to maximize benefit to students through our facilities. And for the last 2 years, we've been engaged in a library reimagination project. We recognize that libraries have been largely the same in form and function over the last 50 years. And yet, the needs of the modern law student and the modern attorney have changed. Firms who used to have libraries for their associates to do research in that we may have experienced back in the day have experienced a similar transformation. So 2 years ago, we started with a research project to understand the needs of students and the people who will hire those students. research that will inform changes to our design as we reimagine the law library of the future. Library Director Sue Zago has done a great job to lead her team through this project, and we're going to boldly create the space and the services that students need and want. So look forward to the next year of some of those changes to become visible throughout the library. We're also creating a student services wing in the law school that will be off the IP Center lobby, where all student services will be housed together. Admissions, financial aid, registrar, business services, kind of in one convenient location. That too will take place throughout the coming year. Law students take a survey called the LSSC Survey, LSSC, and they fill out a questionnaire. It's focused on student engagement and some qualitative effects of legal education. And I wanted to share some of these results with you because I think it's reflective in some ways of student well-being and success. When we look at overall satisfaction with the law school, 92%, 84, 93 of our law students throughout their time say that it is good or excellent. And if when asked if they would attend UNH Law again, overwhelmingly they say yes. And when you look at our results in comparison with other schools across the country, we demonstrate a significant difference statistically in a good way from our peers as it relates to things like providing students with the support they need to thrive socially, the support they need to have success academically, providing a variety of campus events and encouraging student participation at those events. I'm so proud of that for them because we truly are a student-centered place and always have been. The fourth strategic initiative, building financial strength. One of President Dean's strategic priorities for the university is to build financial strength. And like the rest of the university, we believe it's important to align our budget priorities with our strategic priorities. One of the things I'm so proud of is to see the increase in alumni engagement and development. Under the leadership of Professor Ellen Musinski and Maria Godinez, in the last year, we have engaged with over 700 alumni with events from California and Washington, D.C., to China and India and Peru. 6 months into the fiscal year, our annual giving was up 52% from the total of what it was the year before. And that year, we were up, I think, 33% from the year before that. So our goal this year is to have 5% participation from all alumni, which we were told was ambitious. It was, I think, 2.7 when I started. But again, halfway through the fiscal year this year, we were already 84% toward our goal. And from when I started in 2017, we're up over 150%. This is so meaningful to me, not as much in a number sense as in an engagement sense, because our UNH Franklin Pierce family lasts a lifetime through the arc of a career, and it is wonderful to see that value persist and be recognized in people's careers and networks over time. I mean, not to get all like Lion King about it, but it's incredible to see that circle of you students who are here now wouldn't be here if it weren't for the generosity of the people that came before you and then are giving back to make scholarships possible for you to be here. Again, that kind of thing just gives me chills. We've had a few alumni receptions with current students and prospective students lately with alumni together. And it's incredible to see these groups come together. It's kind of like you have these disparate friend groups or family groups, and you're thinking like, what happens when they all get together? You think they're going to get along, but you're not totally sure. But to see the conversations happening and the family ties and those bonds start to be created that will last throughout your career is something that really, I think, comes to the heart of who we are as a school. And I'm so proud of that. Financially, this is a challenging time for law schools across the country, but as we have invested, and as the University of New Hampshire has invested, we've done so strategically. Our work over the past 2.5 years, developing new programs, expanding our skills in new ways, has been intense, and we're seeing the results of those efforts. So here's where, when you work with Mike McCann, you have to throw in sports analogies. It just starts to happen. It's like a sickness. So some people might say in higher education, it's time to go to the mat or get the ball rolling, but we're past that. I would say that we have taken aim at new opportunities. Through all of these efforts I've talked with you about today over the past year, but also really since we started, we're skating to where the puck is, and through these efforts, we are hitting it out of the park. Okay, so it's not without its challenges, and that requires everybody to pitch in. No sign stealing. We're all rowing in the same direction. In fact, I myself have been teaching a class in the hybrid program this past fall. Hey, there's no I in team. Should I stop? I'll stop. Okay, so what we're doing and what we've accomplished over the last year is truly incredible. I am so proud of who we are as a school, committed to public interest and social justice, committed to intellectual property, developing new areas of the law, new audiences for what we have to offer. And I want to leave you with this picture of Bob Rhines. He may not have realized his dream of finding Nessie before he died, but this dream of a law school, this is one dream that he and Dean Viles can consider realized. That we all, every day, this team, we share the dream, and we are all working hard to contribute to it, staff and faculty and students alike. And I personally may not follow Dean Viles' advice completely. I will not stop talking about what I think is wrong with legal education. But I am so happy that we together are doing something about it. Thank you.